It's Sarah, and today's Booklist Thursday. This is a video series I do with my friend Lindsay over at Lindsay's Little Library. And every Thursday, we bring you some sort of list or book topic that we feel like talking about for the week. And this week, we are going to be talking about some historical fiction, specifically historical fiction that involve spies. This was more difficult for me than I thought it was going to be. I really could only think of 3 off the top of my head, and kind of going through some of the books that I've read that I know have spies in them. And then I did go ahead and do some research, and I do have 2 books on my TBR that have spies in them. I just haven't read them yet, so I will talk about those as well. I guess I just haven't read a whole lot of spy books, but that's okay. The first one I'd like to talk about is Codename Verity by Elizabeth Wein. And this one revolves around 2 women in World War II. One is a pilot, the other one is a wireless operator. And one of them ends up getting captured and interrogated for information. And this one, I will say when I read it, I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to. And I think it was just not the right time for me to read it. So this is one that I would actually like to revisit at some point, because a lot of people absolutely love this book. But it is, it takes place in World War II, and definitely a wartime situation with females. And one of them is gathering information. So yeah. The next one is The Lost Girls of Paris. This is by Pam Jenoff. I loved this book. This one is a dual timeline where there is a woman who is living in Manhattan. She is in Grand Central Station. She comes across this abandoned suitcase, and the curiosity gets the best of her, and she opens it and finds a ton of photos of different women. And they all look like they are soldiers. They all look like they are working in war efforts. And she starts to really wonder who the suitcase belongs to. Who are these women? What were their roles in the war? All that kind of stuff. And then we flash back to these women and what they were doing, where they were. They were all commissioned out of London and sent to different parts of Europe during the war to gather intel to take back as far as, what the Germans are up to and passing information. And it got very, very dangerous for them. And I remember reading some scenes in this book where I was just like, oh, are they going to be okay? Like, what's going to happen? Like, oh my gosh, get out of there. Like that type of thing. And it was fantastic. I absolutely loved that book. And then one more that I have read that is one of my favorite books of all time is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. If you haven't read The Nightingale, please, I implore you to do so. This is one of the most beautifully devastating books I've ever read. This takes place in World War II in occupied France, and we're following 2 sisters. And one of them is living at home in her house with her husband and her daughter. And her husband is taken to war, obviously. He is off on assignment. And so she is holding down the fort at home, basically. Her sister is single and kind of living by the seat of her pants, if you will. So she doesn't have that type of home commitment to commit to. And you really follow these 2 sisters, and you see how differently they react to what's going on around them. And you see them play different roles in the war. And it's just, it's so good, you guys. It's so beautiful, and I just didn't know what to expect from either one of these sisters. And you really just, it's such a beautiful story. It really is. And that's all I'm going to say. Okay, and now I'm going to talk about 2 that I have not read, but they are on my TBR, and I'm definitely interested in reading them. And these involve spies as well. The first one is Resistance Women. This is by Jennifer Chiaverini. And this one follows a woman who lives in Wisconsin, and she marries a German man. And she happily goes and moves to Germany to be with him and to be married to him. And this takes place starting out in the 1930s. Now they are living in Germany where Adolf Hitler is coming into power, and he's starting to take things over. And she and her friends are starting to notice things that he's doing and saying and going, oh, this is bad. And she and her husband and her friends have decided we must resist this. We cannot go along with this. This is not okay. And they start gathering intel and taking it back to other people. One of her big contacts is the daughter of a U.S. ambassador. So she is passing information on to her to send to her dad so that the American government can have that information as well. And then her group of friends are also doing the same type of thing. So, yeah, haven't read it, obviously, but definitely want to. Sounds really good. And the last one I have that is on my TBR is The Rose Code. This is by Kate Quinn. This one follows two women who have lots of code-breaking skills, and they are recruited to come into the efforts of World War II and to work to break German codes for England. And they do that. They form this really strong friendship in the process, but then something happens to break up that friendship and they part ways on very bad terms. Now, fast forward a few years and they are coming back together, not of their own choice, to break one more code, and their secret of whatever has torn apart their friendship is on the verge of being made public, and they don't want that. So that is what I have heard about this one. I'm very excited to read it. I love Kate Quinn, so yeah. Okay, guys, those are some books that I have read, not very many, and then two that are on my TBR that involve spies. And interestingly enough, these were all World War II. So I don't read enough spy books is what I'm hearing myself say, and not from enough different timelines. But I want you to go check out Lindsay and see which books she's recommending that involve spies. And if you guys have any recommendations for good books that involve spies, let me know, especially if they're not centered around World War II. I'd be interested to see what is out there that have different timelines and stuff. So let me know that down below if you guys have any recommendations for that. And I will see you guys again soon. Hope you have a great day. Bye.